Yes, big up peeps, man. We are back in the building. You know the vibes, you know the ties already, guys. As always, make sure you're smashing that like button, you're sharing and subscribing. Today, we're going to talk about Benjamin Sesko. It looks like he has chosen to go to Manchester United over Newcastle. What that then means for Liverpool, I don't know. How Liverpool get brought into this, I don't even know. But it does seem like it was going to supposedly be a domino effect. So we all thought, if Newcastle get Sesko, that means they'll be more willing to let Isak obviously come to Liverpool. But it looks like Sesko has, flipped the script and he's decided that he wants to go to Manchester United. It's the club that he's been looking to go to. It's the club he wants to join over Newcastle United. They've now been, I don't want to say rejected because there's been a lot of people saying, yeah, nah, they haven't been rejected by this player or that player. I don't know, but let's just say this is another player who has chosen to go to another club over Newcastle. I'm not saying they've been in for everybody. Don't want Newcastle fans attacking me, but it does seem like they're not having the greatest of windows at this current moment in time. As we know, Alangya obviously has been brought in. They wanted to get in James Trafford. They were looking at Joao Pedro, and I think there's been a few other players, obviously Ekatike being another player as well, that they've definitely had interest in. That I can say as a bare minimum. They've had interest in quite a few of these players, but unfortunately, they haven't been able to get any of them over the line. Manchester United, on the other hand, I mean, it's been a somewhat weird window. Speaking to other Manchester United fans from how they've kind of viewed it and stuff like that, it's been a weird one. Obviously, you've gotten in Buemo. That deal took forever to get over the line, but listen, it's done and dusted. They got in Cunha very early in the window, which we thought was going to be the catalyst for something bigger moving forward. But unfortunately for Manchester United, they've let Marcus Rashford obviously go out on loan, but I believe they're still paying the majority, if not all, of his wages at Barcelona. There's no obligation, I think, actually, to buy him at the end of this loan. So again, bit of a weird one. Should have just somehow let him go for cheaper rather than just keeping him here. But listen, it is what it is. They've still got players like Garnacho. We don't know what's going on with that situation. And I think there's a few other players. We didn't know if Bruno Fernandes was going to stay, go, but it looks like he'll obviously stay. Rasmus Højlund, is he going to go? Was he going to be included in this RB Leipzig deal, in terms of them getting Højlund? Obviously, Sesko then come into Manchester United. I don't really know. And I think at this moment in time, it's the thing is, I like Manchester United's team, and we'll take a look at it anyway. I like their team. I like some of their players. I like the manager, Ruben Amorim. I think he is a good manager. I just think that he needs a bit more time, to get his kind of ideas across and the right players to be able to, showcase that. But yeah, it's just a bit of a weird time now. Obviously, of course, the transfer window is not over. So we have got a little bit of time left in order for them to start getting some of these deals over the line, start selling some of these players, which I think they need to do very, very quickly, especially if they get in Sesko for the reported fee that it is. I think they are going to be in that kind of position now where I'm like, yo, okay, it's all well and good. You've got three good attackers in. And of course, as I said, we'll take a look at that. But you do need to start letting some players go. Where's the dead wood that you guys can get some type of money, from, So yeah, going to be an interesting one, but we'd have to wait and see. But as I mentioned, obviously looking at Sesko, as we know, striker, last couple of seasons, he's obviously been at RB Leipzig. He's been pretty decent. Whilst he's been there. Fabrizio obviously just mentioning here, Sesko has reached total agreement with Manchester United on personal terms. Contract until June 2030. Sesko wants to join United. Clear feeling revealed yesterday here. Never gave similar indication to other clubs. Club to club talks with RB Leipzig will continue. So again, as I mentioned before about Sesko choosing Manchester United over Newcastle, yeah, it's kind of getting like that. We saw different reports, over the last like couple of days. Oh, he might be leaning towards Newcastle, and Newcastle want to get this sorted out, and obviously on top of that, like I said, it's all a domino effect, right? So Newcastle want to get that sorted out. That's absolutely fine. But then also Liverpool want to get their business sorted out. By the way, I'm not saying Newcastle, Manchester United, or Liverpool are trying to help each other out. I don't think it's going to be like that at all. I think everybody's looking for their own best interest, as they should be as a football club and as institutions. So I do understand that side of it, but yeah, there, like I said, there is like a domino effect to all of this kind of stuff. So now that Newcastle looks like they're not getting Sesko, what does that then mean? Do they now not want to let Isak go? Does that mean they'd go to someone else? We know that, of course, they want Visser as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff. But focusing on Benjamin Sesko anyway. Yeah, listen, look, last season got himself 21 goals in 45 appearances, 6 assists, if you want to add that in. But the 21 goals in 45 games, I think that's a really, really good return for Sesko. The season before that, he got 18 in 42. So yeah, listen, look, considering what they've had up front in Rasmus Højlund, I can totally understand. I mean, I look at this front line here, and I said it already, and I tweeted it out. I mean, when you look at that front line, Sesko, Embuemo, and Cunha, that's a decent front line. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where that finished. And listen, we can have a conversation, I guess, in and around that in itself. But yeah, when I'm looking at this, I'm starting to think, yo, listen, this is one of the better on paper. Obviously, I don't know what that looks like moving forward, but on paper, this is one of the better front lines in the Premier League. I'll be honest with you. You can't say it isn't. Most people, the majority of fans in the Premier League wanted Embuemo. Most wanted obviously someone like a Cunha, if not Cunha himself. And Sesko has been always been one of those kind of players that you look at and think, is he ready for that next step? And I think obviously moving to Manchester United for where they're at this current moment in time, it may represent a good deal for him in terms of his development. But on the flip side, this is where we have to then look at it. Manchester United has been a graveyard. I've said this numerous times. It's been a graveyard for certain players. In fact, for the majority of players who have signed there, it has been graveyard. Awful. The environment, the vibe at Manchester United, the different managers, all of this kind of stuff. It's just, this isn't the Manchester United that I knew growing up. Now, obviously, we have to get over that. That was then, this is now. And I do understand we are in a new age. But sometimes, and I think I've said this before in a previous video, sometimes I feel like Manchester United, can you act act like you're supposed to be this team? Like, can you act like you're somebody? Because you are somebody, but you're not really acting like it. And I think that's where certain things start to like creep in and stuff like that, just in terms of, like I said, the environment around the football club, the way that certain things have been handled by either player or manager. It's, this is you're disgracing yourself far too much. And listen, for me, Liverpool fan, it's all funny, and I hear all of that. But as a football fan, I'm just like, bro, come on, man. Like this, you're starting to just look, yeah, I don't know. It just looks a bit weird. So whether, obviously, we've seen Manchester United with star players before, Angel Di Maria's, the Radamel Falcao's, and etc. etc. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Paul Pogba's, and Schweinsteigers. Listen, they've had absolute ballers in the last like 10, 15 years since Fergie obviously left. They've had these players. So I'm not really bothered about, listen, on paper, this looks like a really good front line, and I think it could rival the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Manchester Cities easily. I don't think that that'll be a problem. But how is it going to click? And that's what we're obviously going to find out, potentially, moving forward. As we know, with Ruben Amorim, obviously likes to play with the three at the back with the two wing backs. So I just got up here just a lineup that they've had for pre-season. I believe this was against Everton. I think they drew the game. On different things, again, I didn't watch the match, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend or lie. On different websites, they've got the formation a little bit different. So here they've got it as a 3-4-1-2, and other ones I've seen 3-4-2-1. I guess, listen, the way I look at it is always like a 3-4-3, just with different variations, because of course that's kind of what it actually looks like to me. With maybe someone like a Bruno Fernandes playing in behind two strikers, so, or two forward players. So in this case, obviously you've got Embuemo and Cunha. If Sesko were to come in, could we then see it as more of a 3-4-2-1? So two strike or two attackers in behind someone like Benjamin Sesko. Can this also be maybe something that can allow for Ruben Amorim to maybe, and again, I don't know what Manchester United fans think about this, but maybe to drop a Bruno Fernandes, because I'm just looking at this lineup specifically, right? Now, you got Luke Shaw in there, De Ligt, Euro. Obviously, still got Martinez to come back. I actually feel like, again, on paper, the defense is actually kind of fine. I don't really have a problem with their defense. They've got some good defenders in there. Midfield, or midfield positions in terms of the left wing back, right wing back. Again, I'd be happy with that if I was a Manchester United fan. You've still got Mazraoui as well to come back in whenever he does. Obviously got Dalot out there on that left-hand side. Again, if you needed to put, someone like Luke Shaw in at that kind of left wing back position, and then Martinez can come back into centre back. again, like I said, they've got options. Harry Maguire is not in this as well. They've got options. They've got options. Central midfield, I feel like that's where they really do need to improve upon. But when we are looking at that forward area and looking at someone like a Benjamin Sesko, you can see here, and again, this is just the only data that I could find. I believe this is when they played Leeds United. It's when they played faced off against Leeds United quite early in the pre-season. And again, you can just kind of see, the kind of setup that Manchester United have, got here. Three at the back, and as I mentioned before, you kind of got the five, and then you've got the one lone striker. I feel like that's what they're going to potentially try and do next season. But they needed a bit more of a presence. They needed that physical presence up front, but then someone who can be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. They create chances. That's something that I don't think Manchester United will struggle with. They do create chances. Bruno Fernandes does create quite a lot of open play chances. Unfortunately, when you don't have someone who, I'm going to say clinical, because that's the only word I can think of at the top of my head, but I just feel like it's more of a presence. I don't really feel like Højlund provides that. But then I also feel like Højlund will have games where he does provide that. It's just not consistent enough. Will Benjamin Sesko provide that level of consistency that Manchester United need? As we know, Sesko's not the finished article. He is someone who can finish from a variety of angles. So they have got that there. When you've got someone like Mateus Cunha in the team as well, someone who does like to drift over to that left-hand side, is that something that we could potentially see again moving forward with obviously having that central figure? And again, I just think it's more about they've got the players in behind to create the chances. They just don't have that focal point, up front. And I feel like when you've got these kind of players in behind, like the Cunhas, like the Fernandes, like the Diallos and stuff like that, Dallos as well, when you've got these kind of players who can get forward, and make things happen in those forward areas, you could just see with Manchester United, it's like it just all goes tits up. Xerxes, Højlund, whoever up front, it just doesn't seem to work. Now, I feel like because they're going in for someone like a Sesko, who is a bit of a different profile, maybe that might potentially change up the way that they go forward. But I still think it's going to be relatively the same as what we've kind of seen here. So yeah, as I mentioned before, it's going to be interesting to see how Manchester United and Sesko obviously fit together under Ruben Amorim. Do I think it can work? Yes, I think it can work. I do still think, I look at Manchester United and I do think to myself, yeah, they've got a good team. It's not a bad team. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I quickly go through some of the players that they've obviously got, as I mentioned before. So yeah, I'm not looking at this and thinking, yeah, this looks bad. Do you know what I mean? Even a goalkeeper, I mean, Anana's rubbish anyway, but the rest of the team, this should be a team, in my opinion, that's finishing around about the top 8, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But listen, we'll just have to wait and see. Like I mentioned before, having that forward line will give you, I just feel like it's just a lot better than what they've had previously. So with that being said, I feel like this should be a good transfer. Now, obviously, the money is, from what I hear, is quite a lot of money. How Manchester United are sorting that out, I don't know. That's down to their finance team. They can obviously sort that bit out themselves. But it is a good deal. It is a good signing, should I say? Maybe not the deal. The deal I feel like could be a bit better. But Manchester United, they seem to get their pants pulled down in deals more often than not. But when I'm just looking at it on the face of it, Cunha, Embuemo, Sesko, guys, let me know in the comment section. What do you think when you see that front line? Do you think it's a good front line for Manchester United moving forward? Do you think they should have signed someone else? Is there another player that United fans are thinking, hey man, we should have maybe got him in instead? Obviously, everything is hindsight, so I'm going to assume quite a lot of Manchester United fans want to wait until the end of the window to really judge, how the window's kind of gone. But so far, pretty decent, pretty decent, man. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys soon.